All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour one of Jon and Jim. We are inching closer to Super Bowl 58, which means Jim is inching closer to a mental breakdown, potentially.
Potentially.
Depending on the outcome of the game.
Yes. Talk to me at like 6:30-ish on Sunday.
Will you let me? Can I call you if they lose like 17-10? Like, hey, Jim, I don't know if you saw the end, but they lost 17-10. Do you want to talk about the show tomorrow?
I already know you have a tweet prepared in your drafts for if they lose.
It's
hey,
too
Jim,
easy.
did you know the 49ers lost in the Super Bowl?
I don't even have it prepared because it's too easy.
It's just, or you're probably going to send me some random college basketball score thing that I won't care about at all.
Right. If they go down 3-0, I'll send out the poll tweet, what movie should Jim go to now that the Niners are trailing 3-0 with 13:09 to play in the first quarter. So I've got all those plans.
The Niners are trailing by 4 points with 2 minutes left, and Brock Purdy has the ball to drive the field to win the game, and you're sending me random Memphis basketball tweets.
I'll try not to do that because it is the Super Bowl, and I really don't want to bother you too much, but I may bother you to some extent. So anyway, the Super Bowl is coming up. We got a really good show today that, if I'm going to be completely honest, has little to do with the Super Bowl. We will work it in. But Chelsea Jane's Washington Post is going to join us coming up at 3:30. She is at the owner meetings. Has she heard from or seen Eric Etzenda? She's in Orlando. There are only 30 owners in the sport. She's at the meetings. She's seen Eric Etzenda, right? She'll join us at 3:30. We'll find out. Mark Bartlett is going to join us. Padres blogger. He's going to join us in studio. We'll talk about the upcoming season. He does an amazing job on social media. He'll join us coming up later this hour. We'll talk more about Padres blogger, the work he's doing. Sean Lewis is the Aztecs head coach. Football coach. It is National Signing Day. It doesn't get quite the acclaim it used to because there's an early signing day, but they did sign a couple of players today. Sean Lewis will join us either at 4:30 or 4:45. And John Ireland, voice of the Lakers, will join us in the 5 o'clock hour. Something's going on with my voice.
Yeah, what's going on right now? You okay? Get it out of your system.
Cough
it up. There we go. Cough it up. Yeah, get it out.
Here's the issue.
Good job.
And because I told you 2 weeks ago, I think you made fun of me.
For what?
My son got sick. You don't have any children that we know of.
Breaking news. Oh, that's right.
So my son got sick, and then I think he kind of got me sick. And remember that one night I went to sleep at 7:30?
Yeah, because you were tired.
Called me soft.
Yeah, because you were
tired.
But
I still haven't gotten fully over it.
Soft.
Anyway, John Ireland's going to join us at 5:30. The Kobe statue is being put outside Crypto tomorrow, which I didn't fully realize, but John Ireland, voice of the Lakers, will join us coming up at 5:30. Let's start with San Diego State. All of a sudden, a couple days ago, we're saying, hey, they have to beat Utah State to have any chance of winning a regular season title. Well, they beat Utah State. Then last night, they take to the road. They had a convincing win over Air Force. It was nowhere near as close as the final score. 77-64, I believe, was the final for San Diego State. And then the Aztecs got the right results around the league. You look up, Jim, the Aztecs are tied for first place in the Mountain West with 8 games to play. They've got this big game on Friday against Nevada. You talked about it, 5 p.m. pregame coverage is at 4:30. But 2 days ago, if they didn't beat Utah State, they were not winning the Mountain West regular season.
No.
Well, now literally 4 days later, they might have an inside path to potentially win the league.
It's funny how those things work out, right? Because there is still technically, there's a full month left of the regular season, a little longer than that because it goes in to March. But sometimes it's better to be lucky than good and have some things break your way. And I said yesterday, they needed to come out and just have a dominant road win. I don't care who they're playing. It doesn't matter if they're playing Wyoming or San Jose State again, even though they wouldn't. But you get my point. I don't care how bad the team they're playing is. They need to go out and they need to have a dominant win. Well, that's what they did. The final score does not tell how lopsided that game was. It was a pretty much 20-point lead for a majority of the second half until you take out all your starters, and then who really cares about the final score?
Yeah, I agree.
They shot the ball last night at an insane clip. At one point, they were shooting 70% from the field. It was incredible.
In the second half, at one point, they were 70% from the field, 70% from beyond the arc, 70% from the free throw line.
Now, they finished over 50% shooting field goals, and they were 11 for 22 from 3. But overall, I think that's one of their best offensive overall, games they've had this year, where they shot the ball well everywhere on the court.
Oh,
So
yeah. I
they
mean,
did exactly
clearly.
what I wanted them to do. Go out, have a dominant road win. Don't care who they're playing in conference. It's not been, on the road. It's been an adventure, but they came out, took care of business, and now Nevada on Friday is going to be probably a sneaky hard game just because of what Nevada just did.
Yeah, not even sneaky. It's just Nevada is good. Like Nevada's firmly on the bubble. They beat Utah
True.
State in Logan yesterday. It's the first time Utah State has lost at home this year, but it is a good point. I mean, Air Force understood they haven't had a good year. They've got one win in the league, but still, you go on the road, you're playing at elevation. You just never know what's going to happen. And talk about taking any doubt away early. I mean, they led by 25 points at the half. That's hard to do. I mean, they led by 20. I think in the history of Mountain West play in San Diego State basketball history, by 25 points and a half, 2 times ever. The most dominant program in the history of the league has only done that 2 times. Yesterday was one of them. So it was really encouraging. I mean, they're playing. Tell me if you've heard this before, Jim. They're playing really well in February under Brian Dutcher.
Breaking news.
It's like this is a bit of a broken record, and this is what they've done now year in and year out under Dutcher. And it doesn't guarantee that's going to happen down the stretch. They've got 8 games, and they've got hard games, and then they've got the Mountain West tournament, and then hopefully they have the NCAA tournament. And there is no lock. I said this last night on the wrap-up show. There is no lock as of yet in the Mountain West for the NCAA tournament. But the Aztecs are playing as well as anyone in the league and have the best resume in the league. So again, no lock, no guarantees. There's still enough basketball left that you don't know what could happen, but they keep playing like this with this resume, and they're in good shape.
That's the Aztecs calling card every single year. Is play your best basketball February leading into March, leading into the Mountain West Conference tournament, and then leading into March Madness, where hopefully you can make another run again and play your best basketball, be your healthiest that you possibly can be, and see where they go. But yeah, last night was a very good win for this team. They played really well offensively. Miles Heide even had 6 points in the game. Reese Waters shut the ball well. Darion Trammell shut the ball very well. It was just an overall really good win.
All right, let's switch to the Padres for a moment. Again, Chelsea Janes is going to join us coming up at 3:30. We'll talk about this quiet offseason. We'll talk about Eric Etzenda. By the way, there is some breaking news here in baseball. John Heyman reporting Gary Sanchez, lovable Gary Sanchez, is not coming back to San Diego. Gary Sanchez to the Brewers is the tweet. Actually, it just says Gary Sanchez to Brewers. It's a 4-word tweet.
Thanks, John.
I mean, listen, I wasn't enamored with the idea of Gary Sanchez returning. I didn't think it really made a lot of sense, but it's another one of those names. We've talked about a few of them over the course of the last couple of weeks. Like, oh, this starting pitcher isn't coming here, or this outfielder isn't coming here, and this catcher DH type in Gary Sanchez isn't coming here. We'll wait on the terms of a deal like this, but another day where you just wait. We are, you're talking about your anticipation for the Super Bowl, which is 4 days away. Padres fans are talking about their anticipation for pitchers and catchers, which is also 4 days away. You're 4 days away from pitchers and catchers, and the big tweet of the day is 4 words from John Heyman: Gary Sanchez to Brewers. Yay!
It's baseball, man. They lack the awareness to capitalize in moments where it's kind of all to themselves. I'm not saying this week because this week is Super Bowl week.
Right.
There's a lot going on. That time to capitalize was a month ago, or even in, the winter meetings. Like, that was their time to really capitalize for your sport and make it this big thing. And it just never was. Now I get it. It's not always going to be like it was last year at the winter meetings, which I thought was a step in the right direction from the owners of spending money. And it wasn't just 1 or 2 teams. It was a lot of teams. And all the top free agents went off the board fairly quickly. And there was action literally every single day. I mean, just rumors and it was crazy. And it was good for the sport. This stuff that's going on, and we'll talk to Chelsea Janes at the bottom of the hour, but you can't help but think there's one person hijacking this entire free agency period for a lot of teams. And it's not just on this person, because I do put a lot of blame on the owners as well for not spending money. Scott Boras is a guy that has a line drawn in the sand. He's kind of like Preller. He's like, I'm not budging. Like, I am waiting here until I get my clients what I want. Same thing with Preller in the offseason. He's the type of guy, making moves or trying to sign players, he's not going to budge. He is going to have something in his head and in his mind on what he wants, and he's not going to move off of that line. Same thing with Scott Boras here, and it's kind of made this offseason for all of baseball, besides if you're the Dodgers. Meh.
Anticlimactic
Yeah.
is what it has been. I mean, I don't really know if the waiting game benefits the agent or not. I mean, inevitably players need homes and teams need players. So there is that inevitability. And someone like Blake Snell's coming off of Cy Young. I mean, he's gonna find a home, but is he gonna find it at his terms? Because the last we heard on someone like Snell, that's the top of the market, right? We don't think the Padres are in on the top of the market. The Snells, the Bellingers in the outfield. But we heard Snell had an offer from the New York Yankees like a month ago. 5 years, $150 million. We then heard weeks later, Scott Boras is asking for 9 years, $270. Like, you talk about a gap between what has been offered by one of the big spenders in the sport, the Yankees, and what Scott Boras is looking for. And maybe because of that, to your point, that gap is so wide that it's not going to be solved in a short period of time. So, I mean, that's kind of crazy to think. A guy coming off of Cy Young, who's in his prime, who's got 2, could wait this off until when? I mean, middle of camp, later in camp. Remember, Blake Snell's the guy that when he gets a slower start, he got off to a slow start with the Padres a couple of years ago. But here's the thing. I'm with you on Boras, and we'll talk to Chelsea about it. But it's not like Boras controls all these players. I'd have to look. But, like, what about the mid-tier guys? What about the Tommy Phams? What about the low-tier guys? What about the Jerks and Profiles? I mean, what does Blake Snell have to do with Tommy Pham? I guess maybe Cody Bellinger has something to do with it. But what does Cody Bellinger have to do with Jerks and Profile? You know, it's
good,
like
if
you own a mansion, what does that have to do with like my 1-bedroom place?
Yeah, there's nothing.
Nothing, right?
Nothing. No, I agree. The question is, do these teams and these owners want to spend money to try to improve their teams, or they've seen what has happened in the past with big money spenders like the Mets and the Padres recently, and those two teams fizzling out and crashing and burning in epic fashion. So they're not wanting to go out and spending a bunch of money because they've seen what it does and what happens when a team spends a bunch of money, other than the Dodgers or maybe the Yankees, but still the Yankees did make the postseason last year as well. We'll see. I don't know. You're, what is it? What are we, 7th? 4 days away from Padres pitchers and catchers reporting. This time next week will be, I believe, the first
club workout.
Yeah, full club workout. Yep. Either the 16th, whenever that is, maybe end of next week. And there's still a bunch of names on the board, and there's still a bunch of holes on this team, and the roster is not even incomplete. And so, baseball is just chugging along and being that sport that really isn't talked about.
Yeah, it would be easier to be critical, actually, of the Padres if they were the outlier. Like, if this was a Padres thing, if this was an Eric Contenda
baseball thing.
Yeah, it's just not. I mean, there is slight movement. There's something like Gary Sanchez, which is to be honest, in the low, mid, high. I put him in the low. Yeah. Like, okay, it's a minor deal. He goes to the Brewers. There have been back-end rotation pieces that have signed. To your point, the Dodgers have played a different sport here this offseason.
No question.
They've spent the $1.2 billion, and the Yankees, to their credit, acquired Juan Soto. And there are other teams that have made sizable moves. But there's the other 25 teams, too, that are just waiting around, making very minor move after very minor move. And the Padres are in that category. And we can try to explain it away. Is it because they have to lower payroll? Is it because they want to go with the youth movement, as we've talked about extensively? Or is it because of the market conditions? Because the last we heard from Preller, hey, we'll see if we can get some buys in January. Nobody's got any buys in January because nobody's been bought in January.
Nope.
So are the buys coming in February or potentially March? And again, not just a Padres issue. To your point, it's kind of like a baseball issue right now.
For sure. I put this on baseball and the owners in baseball, because a lot of owners are scared to spend money. A lot of these owners they care more about their pockets than improving the team on the field that they're the owners of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying the Padres are in that camp. I don't know what Eric Costenda's thought process is. We've yet to hear from him. Don't even really know what he fully looks like. Don't even know what he sounds like. But as of this moment in time, it's really hard to convince me anything other than they're trying to save as much money as possible and they're not really focused on. I'm not saying that they're not focused on the on-field product, but they're not as focused as they were in the past. They're not as focused as going out and signing players to help the big league club now. When, hey, we have some minor league dudes over here that will cost you nothing and maybe can play. Let's go that route instead of spending money on potentially a stopgap, even though I feel like a stopgap at these positions is what they need to do. But who knows if they're going to do it? Who knows if they're going to do it?
Yeah, it's interesting because there aren't like a ton of examples of teams that sell out every game and then are trying to do things quote unquote on the cheap. I'm not saying that's where the Padres are. They have a real payroll. It'll be a top 15 payroll, not a bottom 15. It probably won't be a top 5, but it'll be in that 10 to 15 range. In addition to that, though, they're coming off a year in which they drew 3.2 million fans, which is utterly insane considering the on-field results. Credit to Padres fans. Incredible.
Amazing.
And the marketing of the club. They did an amazing job with the club despite the results. But then we hear from the Padres as recently as this week. I think Eric Rupner said this, and I think I saw it on social media or on Twitter from the Padres directly, that they have sold a club record in terms of season ticket sales, going beyond last year when they ultimately draw 3.2 million. So I don't know if they'll draw 3.2 because there's single games in there. But my point is they're trending for this great box office year again, 2.9, 3, 3.1, 3.2.
Great giveaways.
But they're not finishing off
Gallagher
their
Square.
but they're not finishing off the roster. But they're in the top 10% of draws in baseball. Like they're going to draw like the LA Dodgers, the New York Yankees in that category. But those teams
top 5
have acquired Juan Soto and Yamamoto and Ohtani, and the Padres like, oh, they're out on Gary Sanchez. Oh, they're out on Lorenzen. I don't even know if they are, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's just weird. They're going to draw 3.2 million fans and the roster's not complete and the season's just a couple of days away from starting.
Well, I'm okay with the loss of Gary Sanchez.
Of course, that's not my point, but
no,
but
I
the
know
other
what you're
pieces.
saying. I know what you're saying because now it's Luis Campusano's the guy. We kind of knew
as he
that,
should be,
and as he should be. You're right. But yeah, it's just it's a weird time. Padres are kind of in this like holding pattern as far as making any moves because maybe it's because of the passing of Peter Seidler. Maybe this was the plan all along. I know Kevin has reiterated that even if Peter Seidler were still with us, this was the plan. Kind of hard to think that, honestly, because
that this was the plan.
I
right.
Hard to really think and truly believe, like if Peter Seidler were still here with us, that the plan would be to do nothing. And I know they've done things, but when I say nothing, I mean like actually improve their roster from last year, which they have not done. And is it because they're so capped with money? Is it because they just don't want to go that route again because it failed miserably last year? Is it because they trust their farm system more than other people might? Is it because they want to like actually reset the CBT and maybe go for it next offseason? Or I don't know what it is, but whatever is going on and whatever that thought process is down at Petco Park, it's not to improve the major league roster this year from getting other major league talent in here.
So far, from what we know so far. It would be easy to make that statement and something we'll never know. I mean, maybe AJ Preller will be asked of it. Maybe Eric Itzenda will be asked of it. Yeah. Would this plan differ if Peter Seidler was still the primary owner of the Padres, or was this the plan all along, regardless of who was owning the Padres in 2024? All right. We're going to catch up with Chelsea Janes on the other side. Great national baseball reporter on baseball for the Washington Post. Chelsea Janes in Orlando at the owners' meetings as she caught up with Eric Itzenda. Chelsea Janes will join us on the other side. Mark Bartlett's going to join us, Padres blogger in studio as well this hour. Sean Lewis, San Diego State head football coach on National Signing Day, will join us in the 4 p.m. hour. John Ireland, voice of the Lakers, will swing by. The Kobe statue will be unveiled tomorrow outside Crypto.com Arena. John Ireland swings by at 5:30. We're just underway. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, hey guys, it is Schaefer. The big game is here, and you can watch it at one of 3 Novo Brazil Brewing locations: Otay Ranch Mall, IB, Mission Valley. That brand new Mission Valley spot just opened a couple of weeks ago. I've been there twice, in fact, in the last 3 weeks. They've got the brand new Aztec kombucha now available at all locations as you watch the big game. This co-branded product that benefits men's and women's basketball student athletes at San Diego State through the Mesa Foundation, that was taste tested by Lamont Butler, Jaden Ledee, Micah Parrish, and others. Take it from me. It's an amazing product. You need to check it out this weekend as well for the big game. But they've got everything you need to enjoy this weekend at all of their area locations, including the brand new spot. It's incredible. You need to get there. It's as good of a sports bar as you're going to find. Novo Brazil Brewing, Mission Valley, 350 seats, full bar menu, 60 taps of Novo Brazil beer. They've got the kombucha I've been telling you about that is spectacular. They have seltzers. They have great food offerings. This is a great spot for the whole family, by the way, because of their great food and drink offerings, the sandwiches, the salads, the tacos, the burgers, the empanadas, the appetizers, and much, much more. But again, if you're looking for the perfect spot for the big game, huge LED screens, great food, activities for kids, great drinks, you got to swing by Novo Brazil Brewing. Those locations: Otay Ranch Mall, IB, Mission Valley. If you're looking for more information specifically for the big game, visit novobrew.com. That's novobrew.com.
All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. We'll start with the Aztecs. They beat Air Force last night 77-64. Next up for the Aztecs, they take on Nevada this Friday, 5 p.m. tip-off. 4:30 is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. In college football news, Nick Saban, after retiring from Alabama, is going to be joining ESPN's College Game Day this upcoming football season. Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone, where they got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Padres blogger Mark Bartlett in studio. He's going to join us coming up in about 15 minutes. We've been mentioning our conversation with Chelsea Janes, great national baseball reporter with the Washington Post. We caught up with her about 90 or so minutes ago. We started our conversation with Chelsea asking about the quiet offseason, not just for the Padres, but around baseball. Why?
To me, and just from talking to people, I think the main thing is, frankly, Scott Boras. A lot of those people you talked about are Boras guys: Matt Chapman, Bellinger, Snell, and he likes to play the waiting game, or more specifically, is really willing to play the waiting game. So I think it probably means he hasn't gotten the number he's wanted on Snell. Is trying to drive up kind of a desperate bidding war on Bellinger, and I think it's probably going to work. He does that for a reason, and I think teams like the Giants, who need to make a splash before spring training, are going to be more desperate to do so on February 13th than January 13th. So there's probably something to it, but as long as those guys aren't moving, nobody else can kind of figure out where the second tier, third tier guys are, and they're kind of trying to see if they can maybe get a deal at the top.
Chelsea, how would you describe the Padres offseason on the field as far as moves and signings go?
You guys might have a better sense than me, but it seems a little weird. I've found it to be a little bit hard to understand. I certainly understand the payroll, the need to kind of trim a bit there, but they've really loaded up that bullpen with some big contracts and some guys that aren't proven here, which is interesting. It's just been kind of interesting. I think we all know they could probably use a more reliable bat in the outfield or two. The Soto deal makes sense, on some level, but doesn't seem to have been followed by any kind of grand strategy other than to save money. So, I mean, they're a good team still. I mean, there's a lot of talent there, but I would say I'm confused. Um, it seems they've directed a lot of energy to the bullpen, maybe more than I would have expected, and otherwise just been kind of quiet.
Yeah, Chelsea James from the Washington Post is with us right now on Jon Jim, San Diego Sports 760. With their limited dollars, do you think it's more likely they could use it on outfield help? They clearly need it. They literally have 2 outfielders on their 40-man roster. Or could they potentially use it on the back of their rotation because they have Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish and Michael King, but beyond there are question marks. So with limited dollars, do you think they throw it into starting pitching or into their outfield?
The one thing that has always been true, or at least felt true, about AJ Preller is this sort of best available mindset. So I think if he sees a deal, or, it strikes me as a situation where whatever the sort of best option in the price range is what he'll go with. I would assume that's an outfielder. I mean, I think, like you said, the depth there, it was bad to start last year, and it hasn't gotten better this year. I remember Bob Melvin on the first day of spring training last year kind of hinting at how weird that situation was in their outfield. So, it's not a new problem, but it just seems like the logical place. There's still a lot of options there. Back of the rotation, who knows? But, I would expect that it's the outfield, but they're just so hard to predict. And with the market where it is, I don't know quite what tier of outfield help that means for them.
Chelsea, when you look at a departing player from the Padres like Blake Snell, not probably, but he is the top remaining starting pitcher on the free agent market. What is the latest with him? And I know you mentioned Scott Boras is a big reason why the slow play here in free agency, and he's a Scott Boras guy. But what's the latest with Blake Snell?
I think the thing with Blake Snell, and you guys know it well, is like the numbers are so good, and yet they don't look good when you watch them. I mean, the walks are so kind of fascinating. It's incredible how he's able to get out of trouble, and he does, and the numbers are there, and you can't argue with it. But I think there are a lot of GMs. I know there are a lot of, executives who are kind of like, can I really put, ace money into a guy who's going to walk that many batters, into a guy that's going to be in trouble and in high pressure innings for pretty much every time he takes the ball. And I think that's part of it. I think he's one of those guys that nobody is quite as sure of as they want to be for what his numbers would dictate he get. I mean, he had a crazy year and a walk year, just an incredible year. But we also know he was, he was an escape artist. I mean, but he was so good. So it's interesting. I think he and Scott Boras have a very clear idea of what his value should be based on the numbers, and I think they can make a really compelling case. But I think that there are a lot of teams that are wary of giving it to him because, if you look at the wildness, it's just a little scary. And I think, more of a sort of red flag than we've seen in kind of other top line starters that've been available this year, last year, and stuff like that.
So if you were to guess right now, would you say that you think that he probably, with what you said, and I completely agree with you about the worrisome part of the Blake Snell numbers, more so on the side of a maybe shorter deal, or do you still think that he's going to get that long-term, big-time money contract?
I think he'll get a big deal. I really do. If for no other reason than it's hard to imagine Scott Boras, taking less when I think Blake Snell wants the big deal. He's somebody that, from what I understand of him, pays attention to his numbers and knows where he stands and knows what people are saying about him, and probably looked at last year and thought, I'm going to get paid, and he's right. So it's hard to imagine, him as a guy who's like going to go out and take one of those prove it deals, and because nothing's going to change. He can't prove any more than he did this year. So I think they'll wait it out, and honestly, I think it's probably the right move because you look around the league, the Giants need a splash, the Red Sox need a splash. Arguably, are they going to bid on it? Are they going to get involved? No, but as long as those names are kind of floating out there as possibilities, you can kind of see Scott Boras, playing everybody off each other and trying to find a team that is, in the days before spring training, or even, as spring training rolls along, needs to make some kind of statement.
Chelsea Janes, national baseball reporter for the Washington Post, with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Back to the Padres outfield for a moment, because you have a Tommy Pham out there that's previously been with the Padres, coming off a really nice year. You have a Jurickson Profar who spent some time with the Padres last year and previously as well. I think the markets are different. Pham clearly had the better 2023. Do you have any feel for what the markets are like for either Pham or Profar? And it seems like Pham would have the more significant market at this point.
Totally. I saw him say, because Tommy Pham doesn't really hold back, that he would like to go back to the Padres. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know if that means that the market's a little different for them than for others. He's a coveted guy. I think, as you mentioned, he's proven himself. He had a big postseason. He's just like one of those guys. But yeah, I don't have a sense of the Profar market as much as I would assume that sort of everyone that's looking for, a fourth outfielder, a super utility guy is in on him. But Pham to the Padres makes sense. I mean, maybe there's something I don't know about how they feel about him or vice versa. But if you need a guy who can kind of be pretty steady and you kind of know what you're getting, that's him.
What the hell is going on with the Oakland A's, or I guess the just A's? I don't even know if I should call them the Oakland A's anymore. I mean, this is turning into a dumpster fire here. Oakland doesn't want them. Vegas doesn't want them. What do you see happening here going forward?
I'm at the owners' meetings in Orlando right now. They have these every few months, and just have overheard a lot of people talking. And one of the consistent themes is like that the A's don't even know where they're going to play in 2025. I mean, it's absolutely wild, and they were supposed to by now. You got to line those things up ahead of time. That's not something you can kind of do at the last minute scheduling wise, but they don't know. And one of the reasons they don't know is because they don't know what the TV deals would be. And they're considering Sacramento, they're considering Salt Lake City, but somehow neither was vetted for this beforehand. So it's crazy. I mean, it's seat of the pants. It is every bit as dysfunctional as it seems from the outside. We've seen the mayor of Las Vegas yesterday, or 2 days ago, whatever it was, say, I don't really understand why they're coming here. And, the argument the A's made is, well, she doesn't have jurisdiction over the one specific spot of land that we would go to. And it's like, sure. Okay. But I think it's, I heard someone this morning, an owner, ask representatives of the A's if they know where they're going to play in 25. And they just said, no, it's tough. It's like, yeah, it is. We should have thought of this beforehand. So it's a mess, and I don't know where it ends because it just doesn't seem like a group that has made anything easier for itself and has only found more complications as time has gone on.
Chelsea, you mentioned being at the owners' meetings, and before you go, I mean, there's been a lot of fascination here locally. I mean, obviously, the untimely passing of Peter Seidler earlier in the offseason, and Eric Katsenda is now representing ownership as the chairperson for the San Diego Padres. Have you had any conversations at all with Padres leadership or Katsenda about what their future plans are? Because he has not, at this point, yet spoken publicly to Padres fans.
No, I haven't. I was keeping an eye out for him here. The owners kind of trickle by as they go to meetings and pretend to, have phone calls so we don't have to talk to them. But I haven't seen him yet. And I am curious. I think there's a lot of questions. One of the things that's come up a lot is the TV rights and how much everyone's going to get. And, there's a lot of teams sort of in a similar boat to the Padres, who don't know exactly what those numbers are going to look like for the near future and are figuring out those deals and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of conversations happening with high level management of those teams here. That's at least kind of what I've heard so far. So I would imagine that's something that's kind of on the agenda. But yeah, I haven't heard him speak. He hasn't spoken publicly here either. And, they've got a lot going on right now with all that TV stuff. And I think at the high level of teams like the Padres and the Diamondbacks who are in those situations, it's a lot of money at stake. And it seems like that's a huge, huge focus right now.
It's a curious case. I mean, at some point you would think we'll hear from ownership maybe as spring training gets underway here with the Padres, again, with the changes they've had here getting ready for 2024. Chelsea, we always appreciate your time in San Diego. We thank you for taking some time for us. Hopefully we can connect during spring training, and thanks for doing it today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, Chelsea Janes, about 90 minutes ago with us here on Jon and Jim. Eric Katsenda, she's literally at the owners' meeting, nowhere to be found as of yet.
She just doesn't know what he really looks like. She thought she did, but then it wasn't him. So,
but there's only 30 owners,
We're gonna finally get a photo of him, and it's gonna be like that blurry picture of Bigfoot. To where it's just like,
Seriously.
no, it's him. It's him. I
process
promise.
of elimination to figure out who
It's
the
got to
owner
be
is.
someone, right?
Like, okay, I know every other owner, so that guy stands out as
The
someone
one
I
guy
don't
I've never
know.
seen in my life. Is he the owner of the San Diego Padres?
Maybe.
All right, on the other side, Mark Bartlett, Padres blogger, in studio. We'll talk about the 2024 Padres, also about the incredible work Mark is doing day in and day out on social media. We kind of wish we were Mark. Mark Bartlett, Padres blogger, joins us next. All right, Padres blogger Mark Bartlett in studio. Sean Lewis will join us in the 4 p.m. hour. John Ireland, voice of the Lakers, in the 5 o'clock hour. Stay with us. With you, San Diego Sports 760. Look, it's just John. Oh, there's Jim as well. All right. So coming up, by the way, in the 4 o'clock hour, it is National Signing Day. Sean Lewis, Aztecs new head coach, will join us coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll talk about this class, about spring football as well. John Ireland will join us coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. Kobe statue going up officially outside Crypto.com arena tomorrow. John Ireland will join us. Padres blogger Mark Bartlett in studio with us. In fact, if you're watching on YouTube right now, Mark doesn't even realize this. You are on screen right now, Mark, on YouTube with this really fresh Padres sweatshirt. First of all, Mark, it's good to see you, man. For our listeners, you are doing some incredible work around Padres content. I think you have it as the official go-to page for Padres fans. First of all, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing on social with Padres blogger.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you. It's always been my passion to talk about Padres baseball, and it all started with my, a lot of times our father or our mother brings us to the game of baseball, right? And so I lost my father during COVID. I lost my father. I lost my half sister. Lost my grandfather. I lost my aunt.
Wow.
All during that time, and so I needed to find a way to kind of escape, right? And so I remember my father. You'd always take me to games. Let's go to baseball games. And so I needed to find a way to escape. So I was like, let me just start this page where I can document everything, because documenting is important, right?
Mhm.
As a kid, I can't even, it's hard to find photos of myself with my father, my family at the Murph at Qualcomm. We do have some, but I don't have enough, right? And so that's why I was like, I just want to document everything. Because in life, and when you talk about blogger, a vlogger, in general, we're all documenting our life. We're telling a story, right? We're storytelling. And so with the Padres were always kind of like when I wake up, right? They're specifically during Padres season. Padres baseball, 7:05. We're gonna talk, right? We're gonna watch it. And it was just a way for me to kind of feel complete inside, right? And so creating a page allowed me to kind of document that, but also bring the game, bring the younger generation of fans to baseball and to the Padres. Because I would have kids, right? You would have a Padres say, Padres, we're going to release these tickets. Kids will be like, well, how do I get those tickets? How do I find those tickets? How much are those tickets? So I find it was my job to educate them, inform them, and bring them closer. And also then they would tell their parents. Then their parents would start following. And from there, just kind of just turned to somewhere I was like, man, I love doing this. Right. And that's why we live in a society today where we work. Right.
No doubt.
We put into a system.
Except for me.
Right?
True. Other than Jim. Yeah.
Other than me, it's all good. Yeah.
We work all of our lives to kind of just like say you're putting us to Social Security. And sometimes folks don't even make it to that age, just like my father. And so my thing is do things that you love doing. Right. And this is something I love doing. I love talking about Padres baseball. I love, just kind of bringing baseball to Padre fans here in San Diego.
So yeah, Padres blogger on Instagram, correct? Instagram.
Let's get people over there right now.
Yeah,
So just
huge following.
go to Instagram at Padres blogger. You have to follow. I mean, shoot, it's better than following Jon and Jim.
No, it's not.
Honestly, he really does. Mark does an
No, it's great.
amazing job of aggregating Padres related content. Like if you're looking for anything related to the Padres day in and day out, you should follow him right now at Padres blogger.
So for your page, obviously it's all Padres content. What was like the moment for you? Because everybody has a moment where it was like, oh, this is going to turn into something.
Right.
Like
right.
this is going to be something where people are actually want to come to me for just Padres content and news and whatever the case may be. Like, what was that moment on your page or, that you saw where it was like, oh, people are actually going to come to me to, and I should, give them Padres content nonstop.
The players actually started to reach out.
Wow. Okay.
And not just all the big players, right? And they would start to reach out like, hey, how can I support? What can I do to support the younger generation of Padre fans?
Wow.
And at that point, that's when I figured, you know what, I got to continue to push, right? So players such as Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., the biggest players on the team, Joe Musgrove, all follow the page. And I'm in contact with them, right?
Nice.
And there's we got some things in the works today coming up this season where we're actually going to be bringing fans more content directly from players, because I think that's been the beauty in this is that players are actually seeing how they could use their platforms, right, to do good in the community with social media. And I think a lot of players these days forget that they do have a platform.
Right.
And I think that's kind of when I figured it's like, wow, players are actually reaching out to see what they can do to support. Just for example, like last season, we're able to bring a kid, to see Manny Machado at Lone Depot Ballpark in Miami, and Good Morning America picked up that story.
That's awesome.
Right. It generated millions of views and impressions. So just that one story, by telling a story, it allowed, the page to connect Manny Machado to this young kid named Christian in Florida.
Yeah, it really is amazing. Again, for our listeners right now, maybe you're watching right now as well on YouTube, maybe you're listening back. You got to follow him over on Instagram right now. Mark at Padres blogger on Instagram. Give him a follow. It is well worth your while. Trust me. 2024 Padres, right? I mean, you live and die with this team. You've grown up with this team. Quiet offseason. I need to get your take. I mean, what do you think? All these stars are still here. I mean, absent Juan Soto, obviously. I mean, what are your thoughts? High expectations last year, not as high right now. What are your thoughts on the Padres?
I still have high expectations. Being a fan for so long, you've been through the ups and downs, right? The 80s, the 90s, the glory days at the Murph, Qualcomm, going to the World Series. I remember waiting around the Murph for hours to get World Series tickets during the 98 season, right? But then from 98 all the way until now, I mean, to the late, maybe 2018, 2019, it was a struggle. It was very difficult. The Padres weren't spending money how they're spending money today, right? I don't even know what their payroll in 2018 was, 60 some or 70 some million.
Yeah.
So them now, they're in the 150s. They're still spending, right? But of course, when you're spending, when you're selling out Petco Park, this leads to higher expectations. So fans are going to want to see a product. They want to see the big time players, right? But I still believe this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with, where the spotlight is not on them. The spotlight is on the Dodgers, right?
No doubt.
And so now they can I think it's much better for the Padres going specifically with Mike Schilt at the helm. I'm excited to see what Mike's able to do with Ruben Niebla. I heard his interview yesterday where you guys Darren killed it.
Yeah.
And just hearing his leadership with the folks that we brought in from New York, the pitchers, that to me, I really think the Padres won the Juan Soto trade. Juan Soto is generational talent. I love Juan Soto. But the pitchers you picked up in that trade, these folks are going to be dominant. Folks don't know about Randy Vasquez. They don't know about Johnny Brito. These guys have electric stuff, right? And Michael King and even Kyle the catcher, right? So there's already that they pitch together. He's caught for these pitchers.
Sure.
So I still have high expectations. I still think it's going to be a good season. I think that what was the win total? Was that 80 or 81?
Yeah,
79.
79.7.
Hey, if I'm going to Vegas, I'm going for that over.
You're
right?
all in.
I'm all in.
I love it.
All right.
Mark,
So-
you are a Padres fan through and through. Again, I mean, really to incentivize our listeners, you got to follow a Padres blogger on Instagram. He's got tons of Padres-related giveaways. I've seen him this offseason. You've got tons of them. If you want a chance to win some of those, follow Mark on Instagram at Padres Blogger. Again, at Padres Blogger. Mark, thanks for swinging by. I know you're going to have some content on some behind the scenes here at Jon and Jim.
Yeah, we're going to showcase what Jon and Jim does behind the scenes,
Which is
folks don't even know about.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe-
what do you
we
think? Don't want to show everybody what we do behind the scenes,
Yeah,
but
maybe
we'll,
we
we'll, we'll see.
All right, Mark's going to stick around. On the other side, we'll get to the wrap of the 4 o'clock hour. Sean Lewis will join us either at 4:30 or 4:45. San Diego State's new head coach of the football program, John Ireland, in the 5 o'clock hour as well. Hour 2, Jon and Jim. Stay with us.
All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. We'll start with the Aztecs. Last night, they beat Air Force 77-64. Next up for the Aztecs, they take on Nevada this Friday on the road. 5 p.m. tip-off. 4:30 is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. In college football news of the day, Nick Saban is going to be joining ESPN's College Game Day this upcoming football season. Starting stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. This hour, Sean Lewis, Aztecs' new football coach. By new, I mean 10 weeks on the job. Today's technically signing day. Couple of additions to SDSU's roster for the upcoming year. Sean Lewis is going to swing by this hour, either 4:30 or 4:45. Also, a programming announcement. We will have the Padres' new third base coach, Tim Leeper, who was a manager in the minors when I was calling games in the minors. About 20 years ago, he was like, quote unquote, my manager when I was in Lynchburg, Virginia. He is now the Padres' third base coach. He's going to join us Monday to react to Niners Chiefs and maybe to the start of spring training as well. But Tim Leap will join us on Monday, the Padres' new third base coach here in 2024.
Yeah, hey, Leap, how was your reaction to the third down play from Brock Purdy yesterday?
Yeah, what did you think of the lack
Chiefs?
of like blitzes from Kansas City in the second half?
Yeah, that secondary was lockdown. Why did the Niners not run the ball more?
Tim Leeper,
Like,
Padres' new third base coach, will join us on Monday. By the way, before we get to the wrap, there's a developing baseball story that even Jim isn't aware of. This is out of the Athletic from the owners' meetings where we caught up earlier today with Chelsea Janes. The Athletic's Evan Drellich writing, the 2028 LA Olympics could include Major League Baseball stars. A presentation was made today in Orlando to the owners about incorporating Major League Baseball players in the 2028 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. If you have followed Olympic baseball historically, first of all, it hasn't been there forever. There have been years without Olympic baseball. But in recent history, Olympic baseball has used amateurs, not professionals, or not Major League Baseball players previously or in recent history. So 2028 Olympics are in Los Angeles. What do you think about the idea of having Major League Baseball players starring for nations in 2028?
How would that affect the season, though?
They would take a break, potentially around the All-Star break, and it would be in the neighborhood of a week of a break for it.
Do you like that?
That's the question.
I don't know if I do. I don't know if the players that would not be playing in the Olympics would like that. Like having that much time off. I know that they love to have that week off for
All-Star break.
But if you're going to like 2 weeks here,
no, they said, so this is in the article. The tournament with either 6 or 8 countries would be played on a condensed schedule, perhaps 5 or 6 days.
Okay.
So maybe like 3 straight days as a round robin, then bronze medal, gold medal, over 4 or 5 days. So condensed, shorter with, I mean, you have to fast forward 4 or 5 years, but the Fernando Tatis Juniors and who knows what baseball looks like 4 or 5 years from now, Shohei Ohtani, whomever else. I mean, I would be intrigued by it because it's in America where we have Major League Baseball. It's in LA. I mean, it's better than the alternative for me, which is amateurs playing Olympic baseball.
It's kind of like the WBC, right?
That's what I was going to say.
A little bit.
It'd be the WBC
watered down or shorter
in season.
Yeah, good point.
I just think I would be more excited if the WBC wasn't a thing. To where it'd be like, oh wow, for the first time in forever, we're gonna have
good point.
Essentially like the dream team scenario for all the other countries. But now we already do that every other. So how's this? Other than it's the Olympics and not the World Baseball Classic. To me, it's the same. Only it's just you're gonna get a medal instead of a trophy.
It's funny. It's really interesting you say that, Brent. It didn't initially cross my mind, and I'm not overly. You guys know me. I'm not overly intrigued by the WBC. I'm just not. For whatever reason, I was somewhat intrigued by this, but that's a good point. Maybe because I've watched Olympic baseball previously, and when you don't have like heavy hitters, so to speak, it's just to me not overly enthralling.
And especially if it's in the middle of a season,
they say maybe the Olympics would be All-Star Week potentially. They may cancel an All-Star game. This is among the proposals. Don't have an All-Star game. Take 6 days out of the schedule, use 6 or 8 nations, play for 5 or 6 days, and play the Olympics.
Okay.
Yeah, interesting.
It's interesting. It would definitely be something you have to get used to if you're taking away like Joe Musgrove from your team.
Yeah, I don't think they would, like you said,
know,
I don't think they're taking away, or that wouldn't be the point. Like, I don't think the Padres play regular season games, and Fernando Tatis Jr. isn't on the team, but he's therefore playing for his nation or his country.
No, I
think
get
they'd
that.
shut down the
but
schedule.
What if all of a sudden Joe Musgrove goes to the Olympics for Team USA?
Yeah, sure. You got to train, you would think, for at least a day or two.
And it's just,
yeah.
The pitching, it would be weird. Hitting might be fine, but pitching way, I don't know about that one.
What do you guys think? 70470, start it with team, or you can call us 877-767-4760. Would you want to see that? Major leaguers in the Olympics in LA in 2028? That's coming, by the way, 4 years away. 877-767-4760, 70470. You can start your message with the word team. All right, Sean Lewis, Aztecs head coach, is going to join us at some point this hour. Right now, let's get to this.
Who's your favorite to win the Mountain West regular season title?
At this moment in time, I'd have to say the Aztecs, just because they've been there before. They are now tied for first place in the conference. I know New Mexico obviously has beaten them, so that game at Viejas Arena is going to be extra big now, but you get a couple breaks and you give yourself an opportunity to go out and win another regular season championship. And it's hard not to say the Aztecs are the favorite, just because they've done it so many times in the past.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Aztecs are the favorite. You look at some of these like popular metric sites like KenPom, and KenPom projects 4 teams will finish in a virtual tie atop the Mountain West at 12-6 overall, which is, by the way, what we have. We have 4 teams right now that are 7-3. You have 3 more teams with 3 losses. You have 7 teams separated by 1 loss right now in the loss column. But to the overall point of who would be my favorite, and again, there's a level of bias here, as we know, and we've seen what San Diego State is capable of doing. Nobody's won more championships in the league than SDSU. How can you bet against San Diego State? They're even with 8 to play.
Right.
They were 2 back 2 games ago. Yeah, the schedule's not easy. Yeah, they have New Mexico and Colorado State, and they got to go to Logan, but you're going to bet against San Diego State when they've dominated this conference for the last quarter century? I'll put my money on the Aztecs.
Exactly. It's hard not to. It's like the Patrick Mahomes thing in the Super Bowl. I hate it until he gets beat. Then
it's hard to bet against.
It's hard to bet against him.
Next question.
Would you guys sign up for the Padres going 84-78 next season?
That's tough, isn't it?
That's tough, because the threshold last year for the postseason in the National League was 84 wins.
Right.
With the Diamondbacks.
But the American League was 87.
And it could change. Like, what if all of a sudden, like you said, 87's the threshold for
85,
the National League. I think this team is going to win around 84, 85 games. So, man, it's tough, dude. I'll say yes. I'll sign up for 84 right now and take my chances for them to make the postseason, because it could get, if this team has injuries, knock on wood that they don't, or some of their stars don't perform, or their pitching doesn't end up being what we hope it's going to be with their top 3 and King and Musgrove and Darvish, 84 might seem like a long shot. But so as of right now, 84-78,
you'll take it.
I'll take it just to be safe. Like, just to be safe.
Right, because you could go 78 and 84 or worse.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take it. Here's why.
Okay.
I just did the deeper dive. In the American League last year, you needed 89 wins to get in.
I know.
That's 5 more than the National League. What are the odds that on back-to-back seasons, or in back-to-back seasons, the National League is going to finish with 5 fewer wins to make the playoffs than the American Leagues? I think you might be meeting in the middle is my point. Maybe not 89, 85, 86, or 87. So 84-78 is an improvement from where they were. But if they're on the outside looking in, that's not good enough. My guess would be you have a less than 50-50 shot of getting in at 84-78 next year. It's possible. Maybe it's more like 30-70. So I'm going to hold out, because I don't know if 84 wins is going to get a team into the postseason next year. And if you're not making the postseason, then what does it even matter?
Yeah. If you miss out by 4 games,
then what does it even matter?
Yeah.
Next question.
The Lakers are unveiling a Kobe Bryant statue tomorrow. What's your last image of Kobe?
Or lasting image.
Image of Kobe?
Or last. Like,
I just read it.
Did I read it? Did I
Yes.
write it wrong?
Yes, you wrote it wrong.
Oh,
You idiot.
whatever.
I will remember Kobe. I mean, that 60-point game to end his career is a pretty good way to end your basketball career. Just doing exactly what he was known for, which is shooting the basketball as many times as possible.
Yeah, he did shoot it a lot, didn't he?
Also the image of like the underbite when Kobe went into Kobe mode and he just had that underbite Mamba mentality. I think that right there alone is the image I have of Kobe on the court.
He doesn't still have the MSG scoring record, does he?
60?
The 61.
Or 61?
I don't. Is that still the MSG scoring record? There's no way it is. Scoring's so up across the league. I'd be surprised if it was.
Maybe.
But that was incredible. Also, the game against the Raptors, right? He went for 80.
81.
Yeah, I mean, the 81 was at the time a much more remarkable accomplishment than what we've seen here with the 70-plus point scoring outputs because they're occurring with more regularity. It felt like 81 was almost like unheard of. Yeah, I mean, we knew about 100 with Wilt.
He does if you don't count the Wilt game.
Okay, so, yeah, I don't know, maybe 81 or 61 or the titles or him with his daughter. I mean, there's so many images. I mean, it's really amazing when you think about it. I still see Kobe Bryant as a young player. Like when I'm just staring off into like space right now, I see him in his prime. And he's still, if he was still alive, would only be 2 years older than me. He'd be 45. I mean, he was a young man. So
Right.
I just see him at the very top. That's how just in my mind, I see Kobe Bryant at the absolute top of his game.
He finished that game when he blew his Achilles.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's like, name another athlete that's ever done that.
I can't, Brent. Next question.
What's the most you would pay to attend a sporting event?
Probably if tickets for the Super Bowl were $1,000. Like if that was if there was a ticket for $1,000, I might consider that.
No, you wouldn't.
I would not. You're right. Damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. Like
you'd be sitting at home on your couch with a dog barking at a water bowl.
Let's go $500.
It doesn't have to specifically be the Super Bowl. Like, would you spend $500 to, go to an NFC title game?
Yeah,
because you hadn't been to one and you were at home,
probably,
and you were with Aaron or whomever or friends.
$500 up there.
World Series Game 7.
Right. Would you spend 500? Exactly. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think 500 is the upper echelon of my threshold. There's no way I would spend. There's no way I personally would spend $1,000 on a ticket. It's just so much money, and that's what's so amazing about these Super Bowl prices. Not just this year, but for 25 years.
If I had unlimited money, then obviously I'm spending that.
Yeah, I guess so. It's just I don't know. It's a lot of money. I mean, it's just. So yeah, I think 500 is probably, and even there, I'd be like, man, that's a lot. Do I have $500 to spend on this one game?
Honestly, at the Super Bowl, are we going to see in the stands?
Like the prince of, who knows? It's like princes and princesses at $10,000 a ticket.
Princes and princesses.
It's like a whole new world. Or
because you're right. It's every single seat in the lower bowl is minimum $6,000. I think it might have dropped to like 5,500, but even then, like you're sitting way in the upper deck, last row. If you want to sit 50-yard line around, middle-ish of the field or middle-ish of the stands, it's like 10 grand, maybe like 20.
Dude, yesterday in your back page, you said they are selling suites for $2.5 million for 20 people that include like
hot
good
dogs.
food. It's not amazing.
Hot dogs and popcorn.
Yeah, $2.5 million for 20 seats is $125,000 per person.
Dude, I did find one ticket for 95 grand.
Yeah, and that wasn't the suite ticket, right?
No.
Right, you put on social media like, should I splurge?
Should I commit?
It looks like a good location.
Yeah, I could take out a couple loans.
See all the action.
Yeah, who cares about a wedding, right?
Dude, it's a good point. Who are the people that are in the stands? I saw somewhere on social media, like, I don't know if it's like a hot take. It's an interesting point. Like among the big four championships, whether it's a World Series, a Stanley Cup, an NBA Finals, or this, it's like you can't compare what you're seeing in the crowd. Now, this is a best of one. The others aren't.
Right.
But you have like everyday folks. If the Padres are in the World Series, sure, tickets are expensive. Sure, everyone's excited, but it's not $9,000 to get in.
No.
You have San Diegans in the seats, but
and you're going to get a lot of
Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, you don't have Kansas City you don't have a lot of Kansas City in the stands.
Yeah, it's a lot of corporate. You're going to see during the game the like Rob Lowe's of the world wearing the NFL hat. You know,
definitely.
Like I'm just here to
NFL.
go NFL. Like that's what you're going to see in the crowd is a bunch of corporate people. Not a lot of diehard fans. And if the diehard fans are there, then guess what? They're going to be upper bowl, last row, not even close to where they might have their season tickets for the game. It's just the Super Bowl has priced out everybody, every diehard fan.
But
it priced them out.
Priced out diehard fans, you're right. And I completely agree with you. And you're like, how are there 70,000 Americans that could spend $5,000 on a ticket or more? But somehow it's going to be completely filled with 70,000 people and with ticket prices of $5,000 or more.
And you're not just spending, like, think about this. Say you find a ticket for $4,000, somehow $4,000 close to the game day, $4,000. Transportation,
food,
parking, food, drinks,
merchandise.
If you buy that stuff,
whatever.
Like if you just go to the game and you are just not going to spend any money, it's still going to cost, like, for parking and all that stuff. Like, it's going to be nuts. Imagine how much parking there is going to be at the Super Bowl this year. Probably what, $1,000 a park?
Who's parking there? It's the strip. I don't even know where you would park.
I don't think you park anywhere.
It's
whoever drives to the Super Bowl this year is an idiot. Whoever expects to go to the Super Bowl, like, hey, I can find parking.
Dude,
no, you're not going to find parking.
Can I also make this point with the Super Bowl in Vegas this year for the first time ever? And we've seen previously like an NBA All-Star game, right? In recent years in Vegas. We already know about the NHL.
WrestleMania is going to be in Vegas next year.
Okay, we will see about Major League Baseball.
We want Cody.
This, like, how Vegas has become this, like, and you have San Diego here.
I know.
Like, think about that. Like, think about the cities of San Diego and Las Vegas for a second, okay?
Yeah.
Most of our listeners have spent a good amount of time probably in both, okay? Right. You got this amazing American city, and you have Las Vegas. Okay, you've got this amazing American city in San Diego, and you have Las Vegas. And Las Vegas has become like the de facto sports capital of the world.
You know why it is now, John?
Well, yeah, I understand the impact of legalized gambling.
Right.
But still, like, think about that. Like San Diego, a city that has hosted 3 Super Bowls, and now Vegas has everything under the sun.
Well, times change, John. And I guarantee you, if legalized sports gambling and all of that didn't become as popular as it is right now.
It's not about popular. It's about being legalized.
That's why it's popular.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was popular
because
before it wasn't legal.
Because it became legal. And just every single which way people can, watch a game and experience a game other than just being a fan of the team has created a giant boom.
But is that why the Golden Knights are there? Is that why the NBA is coming? Or is it because they have facilities, they have tourism, they have dollars, they have tax resources that they put to
Golden Knights have been very successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Las Vegas Aces have become very successful.
No, they've all worked. Maybe not the A's, but they've all worked. I'm just saying, isn't it interesting? Like, you think about the cities, they're not far apart. Like Vegas in the West, small town. San Diego, much larger town, right on the border. There's so many advantages to San Diego. There's so much to it, and Vegas has everything.
I know.
And yet San Diego is has hosted 3 Super Bowls in the city's history. It's just, I don't know. It's just weird to think about. All right, on the other side, again, Sean Lewis is going to swing by. So Sean Lewis, San Diego State's head coach, will join us later this hour. John Ireland, Kobe Bryant's statue will be unveiled tomorrow. John Ireland, voice of the Lakers, will join us in the 5 o'clock hour. We still have Jim's back page ahead. A lot to get to. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, lower mortgage rates are here, and smart homeowners are wiping out all their credit card debt with help from Loan Pronto. Hey guys, it's Schaefer. Right now, Loan Pronto has a cash out refinance rate of just 5.49%. That is a huge drop. So you can get refinanced now, get cash out of your home's equity to wipe out all those credit cards and other high interest loans. You can save hundreds every month with lower payments, or if you still have a mortgage rate in the threes, you can use Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit. Just get the cash you need and leave your primary mortgage intact. Loan Pronto can get you $50, $100, even $200,000 in just a matter of days. Bottom line is this: Loan Pronto's got several options to help you erase debt and take control of your finances. Call today. You can even skip your next 2 mortgage payments. Here's the number to call. Call Loan Pronto right now, 619-207-4336, 619-207-4336, or loanpronto.com. That's 619-207-4336. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. 5.49% is 6.39% APR, subject to lender approval.
All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. We'll start with the Aztecs. They beat Air Force last night, 77-64. Next up for the Aztecs, they take on Nevada this Friday on the road, 5 p.m. tip-off. 4:30 is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. In college football news, Nick Saban will be joining ESPN's College Game Day this upcoming college football season. Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
All right, so Jim got mad at me earlier today, which isn't a surprise. Jim typically gets mad at me like 2 to 4 times a day.
You typically get mad at me
6 to
7 to 8 times a day.
100%.
Yeah.
So, we're working with our friends over at Underdog, right? So I made a pick'em, which was the fade Jim Brent pick'em on Underdog Fantasy. Here's what I went with. Okay. So I went with this. Patrick Mahomes higher than 2.5 passing touchdowns.
I hate you.
Okay, it's a good number. I mean, it's a big number.
It's a big
I guess
number,
a good defense at a Super Bowl. It's a big number. Okay, but I paired it with Brock Purdy higher than a half INT. When I watch Purdy, and I hate to be this guy, I think he's good. I watched him against the Ravens. He threw 100 interceptions. I watched him last week. The first pass he threw, 2 weeks ago against the Packers, the first pass he threw was right into the Packers' arms. Guy dropped it. Then last week, he threw it right to some dude.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know. It just feels like every time I watch him, he's throwing it to the wrong team. So that was my fade Jim pick'em. And then you quote tweeted it and said, I hate you.
Well, yeah, I do.
Okay.
But I also made a
special. What's your big game pick?
I'll be an absolute wreck during the big game pick'em special.
Okay. You'll be an absolute wreck no matter what you pick 'em special.
Exactly. I took the free total yards for Patrick Mahomes, 0.5.
So higher than a half total yards.
Than a half total yards.
I can see it happening
for Patrick Mahomes. I think if the Niners hold him to under a yard total yards on offense, they have a good shot of winning that game. Just throwing that out there. But I'm going to go with higher on Patrick Mahomes there. And then my hopeful game plan for the Niners this week is run the football down the Chiefs' throat. If that happens, I feel good about the Niners. So I'm taking Christian McCaffrey higher than 19 rushing attempts and Deebo Samuel higher than 3 rushing attempts.
Okay. I thought you were going to say like Christian McCaffrey higher than 344 yards rushing.
This should be also the Jim's scared to take anything that other than this pick'em special.
Yeah. If you want to play along, by the way, and fade Jim with me, you can use promo code Jon and Jim, JONANDJIM, and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. UnderdogFantasy.com. So, by the way, we are how many days? 4 days out, right? From pitchers and catchers reporting. Also from the Super Bowl in Vegas.
Right.
The storylines that we've talked about this week have included the field for the Niners was too soft. Is Andy Reid going to retire after the game? What are the other big stories we've talked about?
Taylor Swift
we've talked about that.
Did Brock Purdy know he looked like Lee Harvey Oswald?
Correct. The Brock Purdy, Lee Harvey Oswald comp. Patrick Mahomes, can you do your best Kermit the Frog impersonation? He's like, yep, here it is. I just spoke.
They also asked Brock Purdy to do his best SpongeBob impersonation.
How was that?
Actually, it was pretty good. I listened to it, and it was actually pretty spot on. I didn't realize Purdy had that in him.
Honestly, the biggest story in Vegas of Super Bowl week continues to be what the mayor of Vegas said about the A's. Like, thanks, but no thanks. Unless I'm missing something, I think that's been the biggest story of Super Bowl week. Would you say thanks, but no thanks from the mayor is bigger than soft field gate? And Andy, are you going to retire at the end of the year?
Honestly, not really.
Yeah, but you're a Niners fan. You think soft field gate is like a big deal?
I do think soft field gate's a big deal because it's a lot of people are writing about it. A lot of people are talking about it.
Okay.
No, I'm serious.
I know, but I'm saying I don't think it's as big of a deal as what the mayor said about the A's.
I think from a sports standpoint, yes, that's a bigger deal. Like if you're talking about a city not wanting a sports franchise to come there,
right?
Like that's a big deal. I understand that, but because it's the Super Bowl, because it's the #1 thing happening in sports this upcoming weekend. The Niners being on a practice field that sucks is
that even a thing?
a story.
Is it still a thing?
It's a story, yes.
So they're still practicing on this field that is unacceptable?
Yeah. They even said today that Kyle Shanahan says the field is not good, but they have to do what they have to do. They're just gonna have to deal with the practice field, and they have no other choice.
Against all odds.
Yeah, against all odds. Yes.
Against all odds, the 49ers, despite the practice field conditions, have won a Super Bowl.
Oh, no.
Did you see today Tom Brady is quote unquote surprised that Bill Belichick did not land a head coaching job? What else is he going to say?
Isn't everyone kind of surprised he didn't get a
Yeah.
job?
He only interviewed for one, right?
The Atlanta Falcons, right?
2 times, but that was
Yeah.
the only team he interviewed
The
with.
Falcons.
Yeah.
Maybe the Chargers were going to be a team that could have interviewed him, but
they landed their first choice.
and the Atlanta Falcons interviewed Harbaugh and Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
And they chose Raheem Moore.
Right.
Morris. Yes, Raheem Morris, sorry. I mean, I'm a little surprised.
Over the greatest coach in the history of the sport.
But the thing with Belichick is this. Whoever would have hired him would have had to give him
full control,
all the control, final say on everything. The Chargers, I feel like, was the only team willing to do that in the NFL for a coach, and they did for Harbaugh. They gave him 100% full control, like entirely of final roster decisions, even though they hired a GM, everything. Belichick, maybe he wasn't going to get that in Atlanta, and he said thanks, but no thanks. And I don't think any of that team was willing to do
Washington?
that. I don't know, man.
I don't know either. I'm just saying.
I think Washington honestly wanted Ben Johnson from the Lions, and he said thanks, but no thanks as well.
It stuck around.
So they chose Dan Quinn. I mean, it's surprising, but if Bill Belichick was like 50 years old instead of almost 80 years old,
he's not almost 80.
He's in his 70s.
That's not almost 80. How old is he?
What, 73?
Is he? Let's see. He is 71, dude.
71?
Almost 80. I'm going to start saying you're almost 50 or whatever.
I don't
it's not
know.
almost 80. He's 71. I mean, he coached in a Super Bowl as recently as no, he's not.
Pete Carroll?
He's older than he's not. Almost 80 would be 79.
Right, he's almost 75. He's almost 75.
Yeah.
Carroll's 73.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry.
Okay. 877-767-4760. Sean Lewis is going to stop by, join us on the phone at 4:50. We'll talk about his first signing day class with San Diego State, about strength and conditioning, about spring football. By the way, the spring game, I believe, is going to be April 20th, Saturday, April 20th, over at, I believe, Snapdragon Stadium. All right, let's go to the phones. Michael wants to weigh in on the Padres outfield needs. They do have some needs. Michael, you're on with Jon and Jim. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, Jon and Jim.
Hey, man.
And thank you, Brett, for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We still got holes in the outfield and even at first base, and we're losing days. We're losing days. They're losing valuable time. I don't know if the answer is, maybe getting rid of some of the minor leagues that we got, some of the prospects, and filling those with players, or I don't know. I just really don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I know back in 2016, the El Paso Chihuahuas, they were in first place, and they had players like Manny Margot and Renfro and Austin Hedges, and they won the Pacific Coast League, and none of them guys are with the Padres, and none of them ever helped the Padres ever win anything. Prospects are just prospects, I don't know.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks for the call, Michael.
I mean, it's the conversation of the offseason. Do you go with the youth movement even if they're not fully ready, or do you go out and spend some money even if it's not the way you want to fully spend it, because there's not like perfect free agents out there for you?
Well, the thing is, if you do what Michael wanted, trade prospects, we still don't have money. So if you trade prospects for other players, there'd still have to be cheapy players that we would be trading for. And why get rid of prospects for cheapy players?
We've reached the point of no return when it comes to
Right.
Thinking about what this team is going to do, because at this point in time, you feel like they're going to go into spring training, pitchers and catchers, and they're gonna. This is what they have. Like this is what they got. They have 2 outfielders on their roster. They have a bunch of non-roster invites that probably you could see a couple of them becoming big leaguers or start the year on the big league roster. And this is what it is. Maybe a trade in spring training. I think a lot of people would be surprised if there's not a trade. But it is what it is right now. Like, what's the hash? What we have the hashtag last year?
Right.
It is what it is. Just deal with it or something.
We got what we got.
Yeah,
Let's roll with it.
We got what we got. Just roll with it.
It's such a long hashtag. Is that going to pop up the logo this year? Like normally it's like SD? Fire Faithful and you get the logo.
It is what it is. Just deal with it.
We'll find a way to shorten it, like they did with HS Kim on the back of the jersey. We'll just shorten it.
Just like Akron, like just the one letter.
Yeah, we could just Bitly. Like shorten down,
shorten down the
hashtag and still get the SD logo.
Yeah. But that's what it is.
I mean, Michael's concern is the concern of most Padres fans, which is, hey, pitchers and catchers, spring training, Korea, it's all here. It's all right in front of us. And the roster's not complete. And you see it every day on social media. Some teams have 7 outfielders on their 40-man roster. The Padres have 2. They'll have more than that when the season starts. I don't know how they're going to do it, if it's going to be with the youth movement, via trade, or via free agency. But at some point, they're going to have to make some decisions. All right, on the other side, Sean Lewis, he's only been on the job 10 weeks. What a 10 weeks it's been. He's landed a recruiting class of 35-plus players. Spring football is coming. The 2024 season is around the corner. Sean Lewis, the new Aztec head football coach, hired about 10 weeks ago on National Signing Day. He'll join us on the other side. Plus, John Ireland, voice of the Lakers, Kobe statue will be unveiled tomorrow outside Crypto.com Arena. John Ireland will talk some hoops with us and about that unveiling as well at 5:30. Sean Lewis, Aztecs head coach, will join us next. All right, Jim is mad at me, right, Jim?
Yes, very mad.
Here's why. So the big game is here, and I am fading Jim. Who wants to join me in fading Jim right now at UnderdogFantasy.com? Here's my pick'em, okay? This to me, by the way, seems likely or possible. Patrick Mahomes, higher than 2.5 passing touchdowns. Brock Purdy, higher than a half interception. I know Jim doesn't want to hear it.
I hate you.
It's that simple and easy to win. At UnderdogFantasy.com, you can win up to 100 times your money in one single night.
Yeah, it's legal in California, and me and John have been playing for a long time, and it could not be any easier. If you like fantasy sports, you're going to love Underdog Fantasy, getting you ready for the big game this weekend. It's the best and easiest way to win.
All right, so get in the game now. Go to their easy-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Here's the thing you need to do. Write this down for when you sign up. Promo code Jon and Jim. JONANDJIM. Okay, because Underdog's going to match your first deposit up to $100. Then you're ready. Plus, they're going to give you a special pick of higher than a half total yard to use on your first pick'em entry. So again, you get a pick'em entry. You choose another like higher than 2.5 passing touchdowns for Mahomes or higher than a half pick for Brock Purdy, right, Jim?
Yep, that's right. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Jon and Jim to get your first deposit of $10 or more matched, plus your special pick. Must be 18 years or older and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms do apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
All right, National Signing Day. Now, things have changed over the years because you have the early signing day, but the class for San Diego State completed for 2024. Sean Lewis back with us in the home of the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. Jon and Jim, Coach, great to see you earlier today with your press conference with the media. Officially, it is signing day. You have obviously a large class. When you go back to the early signing window, a couple of additions here today. How do you feel overall? I mean, you've only been on the job 9-10 weeks. How do you feel about this overhaul and this class that's coming in?
Jon, great to be on with you guys again. It's good to see you as well. I feel great about, the guys and the families that we were able to bring and to make a part of our program. And, a good chunk of them, joined us at January here for the start of the spring semester as we're mid-year enrollees, and added a few more today, and the rest of the crew will get with us in the summertime. But really happy with where we're at and really excited about the future and what we're building here on the Mesa.
First 10 weeks here, Coach, for you, what's been the most enjoyable part being a head coach again in, college football here at San Diego State?
Yeah, I mean, just getting to know the community, getting to know the team, getting to know my way from our new home to the office without having to use my GPS. But
Yeah.
It's such a joy to, be back in the head chair, to have the staff assembled, to have the team back here, and to be pouring into and serving these guys. I mean, that never gets old, to stand in front of your team and to, give them some guidance and equip them with tools that are going to make them successful on the field, but in life. I mean, it's really a true passion that we all have on staff, and that is really the most enjoyable thing about what we get to do.
By the way, spring football is coming, and then, of course, the season tickets are available at goaztecs.com. Sean Lewis's first season as head coach of the Aztecs. Season tickets available right now at goaztecs.com. I asked you about this earlier, but for our listeners, I think the people are curious. I mean, it's a year-round sport. A lot of college athletics is year-round. What are the priorities now for San Diego State football?
Yeah, the biggest thing right now in our first phase of building this 2024 team, right, is to establish our identity with instilling our culture and to get our guys physically fit and trained and ready to play with spring ball coming around the corner, right? So with this strength and conditioning phase, Coach Sobel really has, is running point with the team, and the guys are training hard 5 days a week with some lifting and some running combinations. We actually got to get in the meeting room with our guys for the first time with recruiting coming to a close, so that we can install the offensive and defensive schemes that we are implementing. So right now, again, it's a lot of learning, it's a lot of teaching, and getting the guys physically ready to play so that as we transition here in early March to spring ball, we can then turn these great athletes that we're training into the best football players that they can be.
Going through recruiting process here and signing day and all the players that you've brought in, whether it be through the transfer portal or, signing them to San Diego State, for you, what was the method of your madness going into recruiting this upcoming recruiting season?
Yeah, I mean, you first got to evaluate what's on your current roster and where the holes are. You don't want to have any sort of gaps in any position groups in terms of classes or competitive depth. So we really wanted to attack those perceived holes that we had within the roster. And then for us, there's kind of a deep evaluation process that we do. So we had to do a little bit of speed dating and work through that process very quickly in terms of identifying the young men at each position that have the physical traits that we're looking for to be able to play the game at a championship level, the way that we're going to in Snapdragon Stadium here. And then you got to make sure that you find the right guys that are made of the right things, right? That have the character components and are aligned around how you want to do it, that want to be developed, that want to grow holistically. So those two, the physical evaluation, the character evaluation, and then you got to get to know them so that you know how to recruit them, so that you can close them and get them to be a part of what you're doing. So the staff did a tremendous job. We divided and conquered, went all over, but was really proud with the number of kids from California that we kept home, or some California kids that went far and wide that we were able to bring back home.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Aztecs football coach Sean Lewis with us right now on Jon and Jim. We've heard so often, and I've heard it from you as well when you've spoken about Southern California. I mean, can you speak to it? You've recruited the whole country. You've coached all across the landscape, including, of course, at Division I, a head coach at Division I, obviously a coordinator in the Power 5 this past year. When you think about recruiting in Southern California, does it compare? It's right there with any recruiting area in the country, is it not?
Yeah, it really is. I think it's one of the most talent-rich areas in the country. As you allude to, I've been very fortunate. I mean, to work all the way up in the Northeast at Syracuse, and now all the way down here in Southern California, right? So I've seen it all, recruited all the areas, and I think California is one of the few states that can actually be in the conversation for the greatest state with the best high school football, and California's in that mix. And to have the amount of talent that we do in our backyard, I mean, in the 10 weeks that I've been on the job, there was only one opportunity and one time where I chose to leave the state to recruit anyone else because of the talent that is here. And the one kid that we left for, Heath, we were able to reel in. But other than that, I was able to, just get in the car and drive up and down the coast and stay local and be able to have more than enough talent that's in our backyard to build out a championship roster. And that's really, really exciting about this opportunity here.
Going into spring camp and games and upcoming season, your quarterback room, coach, you brought in a couple quarterbacks here, AJ Duffy and Danny O'Neill. For you, is there a leader in the clubhouse right now for starting quarterback, or is this going to be a true open competition this upcoming spring here for the next upcoming season?
Yeah, true open competition. Besides obviously through the evaluation process, I've seen them spin it during that and everything. But again, it's something completely different to see a throwing session versus knowing how the kid processes and is able to adapt to the speed of the game at this level. When there's a 3 technique trying to come run through and rip their head off, right? So until we kind of get into it and we start playing real ball, there won't be anyone who kind of separates from the pack one way or the other right now. There's just a lot of learning, a lot of teaching that's going into it. And it'll be wide open, right? Not just at that position, but across all positions, to where the guys who give us the best chance to win consistently at a high level, those are going to be the guys that are going to play.
Coach, one more before you go, just about the passion of Aztec fans. I know you've heard from people. I know you see it on campus. I know you've seen San Diego State basketball games, for example, and I think you've had recruits with you at times over the last handful of weeks as you completed off this 2024 class. What do you think about the level of enthusiasm and support that San Diego State has in Southern California?
I mean, this community is unbelievable, and I can't go anywhere, whether it's on campus or within the community, to just go get a local coffee or whatever the case might be. But anywhere I go, I'm getting recognized. People are excited as all get out. And I can't wait for all those people, that have stopped me and told me how excited that they are to, buy their season tickets and to fill Snapdragon, because you can certainly feel the energy and the excitement within the community. It's truly second to none. And I tell you what, it energizes us and our staff each and every single day to make sure that our community is proud, of the product and that we're putting on the field, and that our football Aztec alums, the Aztecs for Life, are extremely proud of the program, and that we keep it that way.
Final one for me, Coach. I love your social media game. Applause to you for everything that you've done on social media. I mean, you have enough stuff to worry about, but to put out, tweets or whatever it is on social media every single day, I think Aztecs fans really appreciate that. Tell me if I'm right or wrong here, because I've been monitoring your social media throughout all the recruiting process and transfer portal. Every time you've tweeted out a emoji with the sunglasses, kind of, next day you see a recruit commit to San Diego State. Is that something that little hidden message in there for Aztecs fans when you tweet out there?
It's always a good day when you get good players to join your family. So there might be a little bit of subliminal messaging there to alert everyone that some good news is on the way.
Yeah, Jim had the theory too when it was, you have a class of 30 or 40 players, that when you had like multiple emojis, that meant multiple players.
Get ready for a lot of announcements maybe in the upcoming future here.
It's been really fun, Coach. It really has. I think for Aztec fans, for the media, it's been really enjoyable to watch the way you guys go about your business. Congratulations on everything, including wrapping up this 2024 class. We'll touch base soon, and best of luck as you get ready for spring football.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate all that you guys do, and go Aztecs.
All right, Sean Lewis, head coach of the Aztecs. On the other side, back to San Diego State basketball, and, of course, getting you ready for Super Bowl 58 plus. John Ireland, voice of the Lakers at 5:30. Stay with us. All right, hey guys, it is Schaefer. You're getting ready for the big game, and everything you need is available in the college area at Windmill Farms. They've got all of the groceries you could possibly imagine for this weekend, the organic farm fresh produce and meats, the amazing craft beer selection. You absolutely have to see it. In addition, during your work week, they've got a great full deli with award-winning sandwiches. In fact, your 8th sandwich is free at Windmill Farms with a sandwich card. They've got all types of sandwiches. I mean, a wide variety. They've got fresh ingredients, high quality ingredients, low prices. They really pride themselves on those low prices. They're located right by SDSU, right across the freeway from Montezuma Mesa. Family owned. Trevor, his family, they've been serving San Diegans for 20 plus years, working with local businesses like Harris Ranch, Mr. G Salsa, and more. Here's the thing. You may not live or work near San Diego State. You can still find Windmill Farms on Instacart. Have your groceries delivered directly to your doorstep. Also, each and every week, they've got weekly specials. WindmillFarmsMarket.com. Again, WindmillFarmsMarket.com. As you get ready for the big game, as you get ready for your work week, remember to shop local. Shop at Windmill Farms.
All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. The Aztecs won last night versus Air Force, 77-64. Reese Waters had 15 points in the game for the Aztecs. Next up, they take on Nevada this Friday, 5 p.m. tip-off. 4:30 is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. In college football news, Nick Saban, recently retired Nick Saban, is going to be joining ESPN's College Game Day this upcoming college football season. Starting stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Final hour of Jon and Jim. Again, Friday, we have San Diego State basketball, which means a short show for Jim. Must be nice. Gets to get out of here at 4:30.
Yeah,
it's a 5 o'clock game.
I got to get to my sushi.
Oh, yeah, I know, because the sushi was delayed because it rained the other day. So they didn't go to sushi, so now he's going to go Friday.
Yeah, no big deal.
90-minute show, which with ads is a 60-minute show.
Yeah.
With you basically can leave at 4:23.
How do the other half live, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Hey, if you're looking for something to do when you get older, if we have any kids listening, this is what you want to do. You want to be Jim. Here's a day in the life of Jim. We should do like behind the scenes content of a day in the life and a day in the life of Jim. Here's how I envision it. Okay, I've never been in your shoes. I've never been to your house.
I'll tell you if it's right or not.
Here's what happens with Jim.
Okay.
He wakes up almost every day. And he actually doesn't sleep in as late as he used to, but yeah, he's up. It's 8:45, it's 9:10. You know, he's up.
Dude, that's early.
Right, whatever. He's up. Okay, so he's been sleeping for 8 or 9 hours. Then 3 hours later, he will go to the chiropractor. Between him waking up and going to the chiropractor, he'll walk the dog, he'll eat food, he'll watch like a John Cena movie review. What? He'll go on Netflix and catch up on season 4 of Succession. Okay. Then 12:30, he goes to the chiropractor. Then at 1:30, he grabs tacos. Then at 2:20, he stumbles in. And here's what's happened to that point. I've booked guests for the show.
Okay.
I've done the rundown.
Okay.
I've posted content on social media.
Okay.
And then the show starts after you eat your tacos.
Okay.
And then you leave the show after the show.
Then what do I do? What do I do after the show?
You go out to dinner with Aaron.
Okay, that's not entirely.
How far off
It's
am
not
I?
entirely wrong. It's not.
Where am I missing most? Like what is one area we're missing?
I don't watch John Cena Netflix shows.
But you're watching like something, or you're consuming content.
I'm consuming content. Yes. Yes.
Dude, I'm telling you, man.
I know. I get it.
Parenting is going to hit you hard
because it's Aaron. She leaves at like 8 a.m. every morning
for a job,
for like a real actual job. Like
she works.
She actually works for a living.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just am there, and Bentley's there with me, and the dog, and just might turn on the television, watch little ESPN in the morning, scroll on social media, get some stories for the day's show, save them on my phone, but don't put them in the rundown. Then I get up, have some food, take Bentley out, do some errands maybe.
What are these errands?
Like take out the garbage, bring in the garbage can, clean up the house, go to the store, get some food.
Okay, that might be an errand.
Yeah, go to the store, get some food. Whatever it is. I have to take Bentley to the vet.
Dude, strive to listen. Strive to be Jim.
You are absolutely right. It is an easy cush life. Not gonna lie about that.
Yeah. It is for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So yesterday, San Diego State wins at Air Force as expected. But they got some results around the Mountain West that were very beneficial from a regular season standing perspective. And now you look at the standings, there are 4 teams tied for first place, including San Diego State. 2 games ago, there were 2 games out. They win 2 straight. They're tied. Now there are 3 other teams that are 1 game behind San Diego State in the loss column. Aztecs have a huge game Friday that we've been talking about. Aztecs, Nevada, 5 o'clock.
Clear your throat.
Oh, I meant to turn the mic off. My bad. So there's a huge game Friday. That's why Jim gets to leave early. But we were talking about this earlier during the wrap. It's like, are you really going to bet against San Diego State winning the league? Not that it's easy. There's 7 teams within 1 game of each other. But are you really going to bet against San Diego State and all that they always accomplish? I'm not going to do that right now.
It's like Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl right now with the Chiefs. Are you really going to bet against Patrick Mahomes? Are you really going to bet against the Aztecs? Because they've proven every single year at this time that they play their best basketball. And they have the core pieces from last year's team that went to the national championship game on this year's team.
Mm-hmm.
And you could argue that this team's better offensively than last year's team. I don't know about defensively. Like, I think last year's team defensively was elite. Like, you can't tell me that in the last 20 years, I think that was maybe the best defensive Aztec team. I mean, find me a better one. I'm sure there's obviously comparable ones out there, but AG, Nathan Mensah, Keshad, like Matt Bradley, and you also still had Lamont. I mean, that last year's team defensively was special.
Yeah,
and they what they did against Alabama, and then in that second half versus FAU, like really, really special stuff. This team, though, I think is better offensively. I think that they have more scoring options, more scoring threats from everywhere on the court. So it's hard to bet against this team. You're right. It really is, because this team with Dutch and the core they have, they're just winners.
They are winners.
You okay?
Man.
Do you have like,
I don't know.
Do you have like a
no
throat thing?
No, I don't have anything. I think it's you. But anyway, you're like, last year's defense, you're like, that was like the best defense, or historically good. The year prior was actually better. That last year they were the 4th best defense in the country. The year prior, they were the 2nd best defense in the country. I mean, that's how elite they've been at the defensive end for years and years and years. They've always led the way with defense. Now, to your point, is the offense is markedly better over the last couple of seasons. Like, you go back a couple of years, it was middle of the pack. Last year, it was good. This year, it's better than good. All of a sudden, you look up and San Diego State has like a top 40 offense. Say, well, top 40, is that a good offense? Well, yeah, there's like 400 teams, right, and they've got a top 20 defense. So, like, you add it all up, and it's kind of amazing, Jim, to be honest with you. High expectations. Remember, the Padres didn't deal well with them a year ago. Well, the Aztecs have high expectations, and they've handled them very well. Changes. All teams have changes. They've had a ton of changes, to your point, like on the defensive end with the Mensahs and the Aropes. And they add pieces like Reese Waters, and seemingly they don't skip a beat. Like, how do you do that? In this era, with all the changes in college athletics and with all the changes they've had from last year to this, to not skip a beat, I mean, that's not just cliche. They literally haven't skipped a beat, right, from last year.
No.
I mean, they're in a very similar spot than they were a year ago.
The league around them is better, but
they
are still in the same path and trajectory as they were last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what were they record-wise this time last year? Do you know? Like, as far as conference-wise?
It was like identical. I'd have to look. That metrically, they weren't as good. I know that. Like Ken Pom and Net, they were lower.
Okay.
Overall record was like identical. They're 18-5 right now. They were like 18-5.
But
I mean, exact close.
And they lost when the regular season, 6-7 games?
They lost 6. They lost Boise State on the road. They blew a lead late.
I remember that game.
That was their last loss until the national championship game. That was their 7th loss. You're right. The league's better, so they could take on some additional losses this year.
Yeah. So that's my point, is like, while they still might be in the same position, maybe a slight under where they were, like slightly worse off, and still they're still very good. But everybody in the conference around them, I feel like, is elevated their game, in part because of the Aztecs. Like, what the Aztecs did last year, I think helped the entire conference step their game up. Be like, look, we are dealing with a powerhouse in our conference. We need to step it up here if we want to compete with these guys. And I think the rest of the conference has.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, like, I wouldn't be surprised, Jim. Forget about, we've had this conversation for months. How many teams are getting in from the Mountain West? Is it this? Is it that?
Right.
It's less to me about that now and more about, are multiple teams capable of making a run? Like, would we be surprised if 2 Mountain West teams made a Sweet 16 this year? Would that be shocking? To me, it wouldn't be shocking. I think it's possible.
Who would you take? Right now, I take New Mexico and San Diego State.
I would take the same teams. Yeah, I think Colorado State would be like my third pick because they got a really good point guard in Isaiah Stevens.
Yeah.
But New Mexico ceiling, I think, is really high. I think San Diego State's ceiling is really high. So yeah, those would be the two teams I would take.
And don't sleep on Colorado State either.
I'm not gonna sleep on them.
What about Boise State?
I mean, I'd be surprised if they made a Sweet 16. Again, anything's possible in the tournament, but I'd be surprised. They've never won a tournament game ever. Not that really is a factor.
Yeah.
And then Utah State, they've lost their last couple of games, but yeah, it's not about getting a lot of teams in. They're going to get teams in. They're going to get 4 or 5 teams in, even more potentially. It's about, are you going to get multiple teams making a run? It's pretty crazy.
Depends on where they're slotted and what region they get into, and so.
By the way, 5:30, John Ireland will join the show. Longtime voice of the Lakers. Of course, we carry the Lakers right here on San Diego Sports 760. I didn't realize this until earlier this week. There will be this statue unveiling outside Crypto tomorrow of Kobe Bryant. I'm sure people are curious to see what that's going to look like. How do you memorialize someone that had a 20-plus year career? Do you do it as a youngster? Do you do it in his prime? Do you do it off one specific championship season, one moment? Like, how do you encapsulate someone that spent 20 years in one uniform? I mean, how they do it with Tony Gwynn. I mean, it's an interesting question. Like you with something like this, and also as someone that has passed, you just have to get this so perfectly right. I would say
they're going to. It's the Lakers. They're going to get it right. It's going to be perfect. I would think what the most iconic Kobe move is that fadeaway.
It's the fadeaway, or like him going between the legs.
Well, every basketball player goes.
Yeah, but he's pretty iconic. Well, every basketball player is a fadeaway too, Jim.
I meant like the Kobe Bryant fadeaway is
like between his
identical,
legs in the air at the basket.
identical to Jordan. Like it just that he modeled his game after Jordan. I feel like that was one of his patented moves.
Have they said what it's going to be?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't checked.
Yep.
But I haven't seen like what the statue will look like.
Mm-hmm.
They're obviously probably trying to keep this a surprise because when they unveil it, they want it to be that like, oh wow, that's what it looks like. But they're going to nail it. They nailed everything. I mean, it's really hard for a sports team, for an iconic player for that franchise to miss on a statue. Like there's been a couple misses maybe with like other things, but I don't know, man. I feel like every type of statue out there for players has been pretty spot on.
As long as they don't put the people in charge of doing the MLB Hall of Fame bus, we'll be okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
horrible.
there's some bad ones across sports. I'm with you on your point. Maybe with the Lakers. By the way, tomorrow is 2/8/24.
Yeah, makes sense.
So 8 and 24, Kobe. Number 2 for his late daughter, Gianna,
yeah.
who wore that. So, and by the way, also tomorrow is the NBA trade deadline. So it's a pretty busy day. This will be unveiled.
Wow, that's definitely not being talked about at all.
It's not, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah. So this ceremony is tomorrow at 3:30, and then the Lakers host the Nuggets tomorrow at 7. So trade deadline, statue unveiling. I mean, the Lakers season, I mean, what's the update here? I mean, kind of.
They're still bad.
No man's land, right?
They're not
going
great.
to be saved by the deadline. A year ago, they were saved a little bit by the deadline. They made a run in the postseason. That doesn't appear likely here, does it?
A little bit by the deadline. They're saved a bunch by the deadline.
They don't. The thing is, they don't have any pieces to get rid of, and all the pieces that would be appealing to other teams are stuff that they don't want to get rid of because they don't really want to get rid of Austin Reeves, but he's about the only player on the team that anybody wants.
Yeah, the NBA right now, the top teams in the NBA, the Timberwolves, the Thunder. Who else? The Nuggets.
Can we trade Doc
the
Rivers?
Clippers? The Clippers. Oh yeah, how's that working out for you?
1-4, horrible.
The Bucks. Who else is really good in the East?
Boston, best record in the NBA.
Okay, Boston. But has it felt weird this basketball season so far? Like there's not been this much. Like there hasn't been much to talk about.
Honestly, I think we look at it, more you than me. I think you're not as enamored because the Warriors are terrible. I think if the Warriors had the same record as the T-Wolves or the Celtics, you would have a much different feel for this NBA
Even
season.
with the Warriors sucking, if the top teams in the West, I don't know, were like different, I don't know. Maybe it would be different.
Maybe.
Like Oklahoma City and Minnesota.
Well, the Clippers have the best record now
Yeah,
in
the
not
Clippers are
just
very
the
good.
West, in the West. Clippers have the best record in the West. What, 23-3 in the last 26?
Mhm.
That's crazy.
I just think that for some reason,
I did think it feels weird just because it's sectioned differently, because we had that first part of the year where it was all
Yes,
in
maybe
season
that's why.
tournament,
Maybe the
and then
in-season
it was the between the in season tournament and the All-Star game where we're at now, and it seems more sectioned than it was in years past, which is kind of weird.
yeah, that in-season tournament kind of made things a little awkward because it's like, yeah, you have certain days designated to the in-season tournament, and then they have this in-season tournament, and then there was just this little climax, and it's over with. And oh, by the way, we're back to regular season basketball,
Yeah.
and no one really is watching.
Yeah, I don't know if nobody's really watching, but I understand.
Ratings aren't
the point.
great.
Yeah. All right. Well, John Ireland will join us on the other side of this break. Longtime voice of the Lakers. Again, the Kobe statue unveiled tomorrow, plus the trade deadline. What do the Lakers have in store, if anything? Plus, Jim's back page is ahead. Stay with us on Jon and Jim.
Coming up next, John Ireland, voice of the Lakers, will talk to us about the Kobe statue unveiling tomorrow night. That's coming up next. All right, this update is brought to you by AutoZone. Aztecs basketball last night. They beat Air Force 77-264. Next up for the Aztecs, they take on Nevada this Friday, 5 p.m. tip-off, 4:30 is when our pregame coverage starts right here on San Diego Sports 760. In college football news of the day, Nick Saban will be joining ESPN's College Game Day this upcoming football year. Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Is ahead. Great to catch up right now with John Ireland, voice of the Lakers. Of course, you can hear the Lakers in San Diego right here on San Diego Sports 760. It's kind of surreal that there's going to be a Kobe Bryant statue unveiling tomorrow in Los Angeles, Crypto.com arena. What's it like for you, John, as someone that obviously spent so much time, covering this team and as the play-by-play voice? How surreal is this for you? What's being unveiled tomorrow?
Well, it's a long time coming, guys. It is probably, Kobe died 4 years ago, and I would have thought that this statue would have been up 6 months after that, but it just took a long time to coordinate and to get the families, and then they ended up with a perfect date, 2/8/24, which kind of combines Gigi's old number, which was 2, with the 8, which was Kobe's number as a rookie, and the 24, which was his number for the rest of his career. And they're playing the Nuggets, who are the defending NBA champs. So it was kind of the perfect storm. And the Lakers are really good at doing stuff like this. They're really good at ceremony. So I think it's going to be awesome. I would imagine that they've got a whole bunch of stuff planned, and their network, the Spectrum Sportsnet's going to televise the whole thing. So I think it'll be, you're right. It'll be surreal, but it'll be poignant and to the fact that there's been enough distance now that we're over the shock. We're now finally ready to admit that the guy's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't for about 2 years. I was still expecting him to kind of crawl out of the wreckage. That's how big of a hero that guy was to Laker fans. But now that we're all kind of based in reality, I think it should be really good.
We were talking about this last segment here, John, about like for statues for guys that are this iconic and this, historic in the game of basketball or any sport, to present and represent this player with the statue. Like it's kind of hard to do that with one type of move or one type of position or whatever Kobe was known for on the basketball court. How do you expect the Lakers to do that with this statue tomorrow?
I haven't seen it, so if I had, I could kind of tip you guys what to expect, but I don't know what it is. I've seen 3 or 4 different prototypes, and all of them would be great. There's kind of an iconic picture of him jumping on the scores table after Game 7 of the 2010 finals, holding up 5 fingers because it was his 5th title. I could see that being the statue. There was a really cool idea of Kobe with Gigi, like the two of them and him holding hands with Gigi and them like holding a basketball, which would be awesome if they decided to go that way. He hit so many big jump shots that if you wanted to do it with a fadeaway, you could. If you wanted to do it with a dunk, people forget he won the dunk contest in his 2nd year in the league in 97. So it wouldn't be ridiculous to do a dunk. He's one of those guys that, with Shaq, we knew it was going to be a dunk. With Magic, we knew it would be him like leading the team on the fast break. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Star Plaza, but this will be the 7th Laker to go in.
There's a lot of statues there.
There's one in there of Elgin. There's one in there of Jerry West. And, so there's a bunch of great Lakers in there, but you really can't go wrong with Kobe because he did everything well. He was a good shooter. He was a dunker. He was kind of the face of the franchise for the last 15 years of his career. So whatever they decide to do, I'm sure it'll be good.
John Ireland, voice of the Lakers, with us right now on Jon and Jim. I wasn't intending to go here, but it's just popped into my head. I don't know if it's a controversial answer or not, or question. Would you envision LeBron James being memorialized by the Lakers at some point or no?
It's a great question. I think they're going to retire his number because he got us a title. Whether or not LeBron is considered a Laker when his career is said and done is another question. Who knows how much longer he's going to go? I mean, he's got an option to get out of his contract, guys, at the end of this year. So if he left at the end of this year, and that'd be 5 or 6 years of him. You got to remember when LeBron came in, we were about as low as you can be as a franchise. We had 6 straight losing seasons, and he kind of breathed life back into it. So I wouldn't be shocked if they did. I know they're going. Shouldn't say I know, but I should say I think they're going to retire his number. I don't know if they'll give him a statue. I'm buddies with James Worthy. I spend a lot of time with him. I've been arguing for years that at some point you got to get James up there. I also think it would be really cool to put Dr. Buss on a statue and put him out there. My broadcast mentor, Chick Hearn, is already out there.
Yeah.
So they took care of Chick. But if I would love to see some type of recognition for LeBron being a Laker, I think that'll come with his number being retired. I think it's a coin flip whether or not he gets a statue. What do you guys think?
See, that's the thing is the championship in 2020, obviously it's, you want a championship, but it was in the bubble and it feels a little weird. And
since they weren't playing in front of Lakers fans really for the run, it's a little,
and it's been a lot of down than more up. I feel like with LeBron there, like last year was great.
You got to remember too, that he's not done.
Yeah,
I mean, if they were to go on some magic carpet ride and win it this year and go one past the Celtics, then you got a pretty strong case to do that. But Worthy played for one team in his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
He played for the Lakers and, went straight into the Hall of Fame. He's now the TV analyst, so he's been front row for Laker fans for 30 or 40 years, and he's too humble to kind of take up his own cause. So it's left to guys like me to kind of push that agenda. So I'd love to see Worthy. I'd love to see Dr. Buss. If they wanted to do LeBron, I don't think Laker fans would argue it, but I would like to see Dr. Buss or Worthy maybe go in first, if that makes sense.
Oh, it totally does. I think those players deserve it. And if they put LeBron in again, if they make a statue for LeBron, I think fans would like that. But you're right. There are some people I think in that organization's history that deserve to be ahead of LeBron, even though LeBron is LeBron and he's surpassed the all-time scoring number here with Kareem with a Lakers uniform, and it's just overall one of the greatest players of all time. But looking at this year's team, John, they've righted the ship a little bit. 3-game winning streak here. Last 3 games played well. Trade deadline is tomorrow. I know all the talk in Lakers land is like, what big moves are they going to make to potentially make a run like they did last year to the Western Conference Finals? Do you envision the Lakers doing that type of trade at the trade deadline like they did last year they could revamp, most of their roster, or no?
If you would have asked me this question a month ago, I would have told you the Lakers are making a trade for sure. There's no way they weren't. And I would have told you D'Angelo Russell, because of his contract, would probably be in it. Now I think all bets are off. Guys, over the last month, he hasn't only played his best basketball of the season, he's played the best basketball of his career. He's shooting 48% from 3 over the last 12 games. I mean, so he's been, you mentioned we had won 3 in a row. There's no way we win that game in Boston. No way we win in New York. We didn't even win in Charlotte without him. I think he may have played his way off the trade market. But having said that, Rob Pelinka has made a trade every year he's been our GM. There hasn't been a trade deadline pass without Rob doing something. And if you look at our tradable parts, the guys that could go out in a deal, Russell is the guy who has the most tradable contract. He's even admitted that. So if they're going to do something, I think D'Lo would maybe be in the deal, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure they're going to do anything. They're playing well. Our team, you guys, is so weird. We've beaten the Clippers twice. We beat Boston at Boston without LeBron and AD.
Yeah.
We've beaten Oklahoma City twice. We were a bad call away from beating Minnesota at Minnesota. There was a 3 LeBron hit that they didn't give it to him. They said his foot was on the line and they gave him a 2. And then replays have shown that he probably was behind the line. But my point is that you can name any team. And I could make an argument that we could give that team a series. But we've done things like lost at home to Brooklyn. So they're just so hard to figure out. But I think there's a large contingent of front office people for the Lakers that are pushing this agenda. They're saying, hey, let's just see if we can get healthy. Let's get Gabe Vincent back. Let's see if we can get Jared Vanderbilt back. Let's get everybody on the same page and then see what we can do. And if that's the side that wins out, then we might do a minor move tomorrow, but nothing big, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. John Ireland is with us right now, voice of the Lakers. Our producer had a question, Brent. We this comes up from time to time, like All-Star games, where they're heading, where they've been. I mean, you watch an NBA All-Star game, and each team could score 200 points, or even like the NFL no longer even like has a Pro Bowl because nobody was really participating in the Pro Bowl, and it was like a flag football game. Essentially, if you were in charge, would you fix the All-Star game? Like, is it broken to you, or what changes would you make to an All-Star game if you were making changes?
Here's what I would do. And I think everything you asked in that question is true. It's a great point. The All-Star game stinks. Nobody plays any defense. Nobody really cares. Here's what I would do. There's 12 spots on each team, on the East and on the West. I would get a corporate sponsor, somebody like Kia or somebody, that's already entrenched with the NBA. And I'd have them put up $12 million. And I would say, every player on the winning team gets $1 million. The losers get $0.
For one game.
Then play.
Yeah.
And Michael Thompson and I do the games with Clay's dad, Michael, who won a couple times with the Lakers in the 80s. Michael and I both think that would fix the All-Star game, because right now the game is probably the worst part of the weekend. Then the skills contest is interesting. The dunk contest can be fun. If you have time, I'll give you another idea for the dunk contest.
Sure.
Can I give you 30 seconds on the dunk contest?
Absolutely.
All right. So here's how I would fix that. And I've told this to my friends at the NBA, and they won't do it, but maybe they'll change their mind one day. I think you have a national contest with everybody in every state, and then you narrow it down. So you're having a dunk contest with open to anybody alive, and then you narrow it down to 30, and each team would have a representative. Lakers would have one, Clippers would have one. You have a dunk contest. You do this at halftime of regular season games. The 5 best dunkers from that tournament go into the NBA dunk contest with 5 NBA dunkers, and they go head to head. And I think what you would see is guys coming out of the woodwork who can really dunk. And when I make this offer to the NBA, they say, well, it's a showcase for our league. We want everybody that's in the dunk contest to be affiliated with the NBA. And I said, but it's broken. Nobody cares about it. If you did that, I think automatically all of us. Wouldn't you guys watch that?
I'm down for that. I think, I think it's unique. I think it gives you something that you haven't previously experienced. I feel like some of this has gotten stale. Maybe it's our ages, John. Like when you're young, the perspective is different. As we age, it's like we've experienced it a lot. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know what 16-year-olds think of.
I can imagine an NBA player doing that we haven't seen already.
Right. Exactly.
Every dunk's been done.
Some of these guys would come out of the wood. These guys dunking at Rucker Park and Venice Beach, and
that's a great point.
I think some of these guys would come up with some stuff that would be really cool. So hopefully one day they'll at least try it.
I like it. You've got the answers, John. We're looking forward to tomorrow night. For our listeners here in San Diego, you can hear it tomorrow. John Ireland on the call. Lakers, Nuggets out there in Los Angeles. Again, the Kobe Bryant statue unveiling is tomorrow afternoon. So is the NBA trade deadline. A very busy day. You can hear the Lakers tomorrow night right here on San Diego Sports 760. John, we appreciate your time.
Anytime, boys. Have a great rest of your show.
All right, great stuff. All right, Jim's back page. That's coming up next. Stay with us. All right, Jim's back page. That's next. Good to connect with Padres blogger in studio, Mark. Thanks for swinging by, Mark.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was super fun.
Yeah. Not catch, but stay on the lookout on his page
Yes,
for some content
absolutely. Follow him.
behind the scenes.
Follow him at Padres blogger. Great resource for Padres fans. Chelsea James is on the show. Washington Post baseball writer. Sean Lewis, Aztecs head coach. Ireland, voice of the Lakers.
And follow us too at Jon and Jim on Instagram.
You're fine. Okay, let's get to this.
Jim, we need to gain more social media presence. Nah, don't follow us.
Okay, you know what? I'm with you. If somebody follows us right now on Instagram, we'll give you a shout out on air. At Jon and Jim, JONANDJIM.
I thought you were about to
Before
say
we
like
sign off.
money or something. Like I don't.
No. We'll give you a shout out on air. Follow us right now on Instagram before the end of the show. In the next 5 minutes, we're giving you a shout out. Follow us right now at Jon and Jim. Go to Instagram right now. JONANDJIM.
All right. So remember the Applebee's date night pass?
Yeah.
Yes.
A couple $100. You get like food for every week for 52 weeks or something.
Yeah. The $200 date night pass allows customers to get up to $30 in free food once per week for an entire year, or 52 times for the value of up to $1,500.
Yeah, that's amazing. For $200?
So that thing sold out like that.
1 second. Okay.
Applebee's is now going to be selling an additional 1,000 of its date night passes via a random drawing on Valentine's Day in response to the overwhelming demand. The company spokesperson said the way to do that is those who would like to enter for a chance to purchase one of the additional 1,000 passes need to sign up via the Applebee's website between February 5th, which was on Monday, and February 9th, which is this Friday.
Okay.
The winners will be selected and notified on Valentine's Day with details on how to complete their purchase.
Do you think Aaron would be excited if you presented her on Valentine's Day with a 52-week Applebee's pass?
For $200, yes.
No, you covered it. So you gave it to her. She doesn't have to spend a penny.
I know. That's what I mean. Yeah. I would.
52 weeks of Applebee's, me and you, hon.
100%.
She's on board. Okay.
100%. Should be on board because I would be on board and we would both be on board. So it'd be good. Coca-Cola unveiled a new drink, the Coca-Cola Spiced. hopes to excite younger drinkers with a new raspberry-flavored drink.
Raspberry.
Raspberry.
Why is it called
When I think of
spice?
exactly. When I think of spice, I think of raspberries.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
the Coca-Cola Spiced is a Coca-Cola. They also are offering Coca-Cola Spiced zero sugar as well.
No, but I'm with Brent here.
What?
Why is it called spice or spiced if it's raspberry? Wouldn't it be like a cinnamon or something with some kick?
It says that Coca-Cola Spice doesn't have a lot of heat. The main flavor drinkers will notice a hint of raspberry. Coke won't name the spices it added. It guards its recipe very closely, but they taste like amped up versions of the spices in regular Coke.
I mean, I would try it, but I don't know if I need raspberry Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, I don't.
Right?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I just want regular Coke.
If it was spiced and there was a spice, that makes sense. But raspberry's not a spice.
Yeah, because that'd be like saying that cherry Coke is spiced.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just.
Yeah, you're just reading the story. We're not blaming you.
Don't
You're
blame
the
me.
messenger.
It's your
Don't
fault.
blame me. Don't blame me. I'm not the one
Okay.
that has all the details besides that they're just offering a new Coca-Cola spiced zero sugar drink that's supposed to be like a little spice flavor to it.
Okay.
Okay.
It could be worse. I thought it was pumpkin spice when you first said it. It's like,
Oh.
no.
I would have been down with that, I think.
Okay, I love pumpkin spice, but pumpkin spice Coke, no, thank you.
Okay.
Lil Jon. You know who Lil Jon is?
Like the rapper?
Probably will be at the halftime show on Sunday because
He definitely will
because
be.
he did a one of the most famous songs by Usher is Yeah.
How's it go?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's coming out with a guided meditation album.
I'd buy that.
So if you want to listen to Lil Jon, and the 10-track project is reportedly scheduled to drop on February 16th.
Yeah, because it should be easy to meditate with it screaming in your ear.
Yeah, it's the meditation album by Lil Jon.
That's also weird. Those are a couple of weird stories. Meditation with Lil Jon.
Yeah.
Raspberry Coca-Cola. Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. All right, we're back tomorrow, 3 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. If you missed anything today, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. Back tomorrow. Find us. We didn't give any shout-outs. You can follow us on Instagram. Thank you. We didn't give any shout-outs. For Brent and Jim. Jim, look it up real quick. I'm John. Keep it here at San Diego Sports 760.
Shout out to JD Wicker for following us.
Thank you, JD.
About time.
Thanks, JD.